Hello, 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 hello. Good people. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Are we rolling, Maddie? Good, 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 good. Um, Good evening, everybody. It's time for the best podcast on this side of Earth, and I said Earth with an F. How y'all doing today? I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to go live on my IG page. How you doing, Shanetta?
Fine.
How you doing, babe?
I just said fine.
Fine. Okay. Okay. So my wife said I'd be doing too much at the beginning of the podcast, so I'm not going to talk a lot. She told me to tone it down. So I am. If her mic is not working fine, then we'll just deal with it because I'll be trying to mic check her. Um, y'all ready for the blast off of season 4, episode 7?
6.
No, yes, last week was 6.
Count
This is episode 7.
'em. Count 'em.
We'll go back. I mean, I can look on here to tell. This was last week's. Last week was episode 4, season 4, episode 6. So this is 7.
Well, I put it down as 6.
Oh, well, she made a mistake. But here we go. Love Wins by the Stewart. I'm your host,
I
B
don't make
Level.
mistakes for the people that wants to know. She doesn't make mistakes.
Okay. And today is episode 7. And last week we helped a married couple that had some drama going on in their household about their son who was trying to parole out to their house. And I guess the overwhelming response, Netta, was that he needs to get his own place, right?
Yep, get out.
Yep, get out and get his own place. This week is, we're going to talk about a subject that's really near and dear to my heart. I know my wife has wanted to talk about this.
Somebody spoke to me on here last week, so you need to block somebody on your Instagram.
So this subject is near and dear to my heart, and let me make sure that we are recording. I don't want to get that far. Yeah. And near and dear to the wife's heart. We're going to talk about domestic violence today, right? So we got so much. We have so much information that we need to unload and talk with you guys. If you're on, we are streaming our Facebook.
Sorry, I'm trying to fix my ponytail.
Yeah, we're streaming on Facebook and Instagram. If you are on Facebook, hey, yo, I see she's already speaking. Please give us a wave so that we can shout you guys out. Our podcast is very interactive. And so the reason why we go live on Facebook is we want you to join in and be very interactive. You can ask your questions. We will answer your questions right on the spot. You can join in and be a part of this podcast. And this podcast specializes on relationships, but oftentimes we talk about things that are for the culture, by the culture. So not else. Who else? Ambitious Cat. Oh, boy. What's up, Ambitious Cat? If you're on our live, please speak to us. Give us a wave so we can shout you out. We're going to shout out everybody that we possibly can. Now, do you want to tell them how they could be a guest or a sponsor of
Bro, we've been
the
doing
podcast?
this for 4
We have to do that
seasons.
we have to
so
do
you
that.
can do that. You can do
All right,
that.
so in order to be a guest, all you have to do is inbox Shanetta or myself.
Unless you're blocked.
Unless you're blocked, yeah. and if you're blocked, then send us an email at, is it lovewin.lovewins
Stewart.
at gmail.com. That's stewart.lovewins@gmail.com. If you're on our Instagram, I see you guys. Spicy Girl, Andrea's on here. If you are, please speak to us. And so we can shout you out. All of these people waving at us, or they're giving me the option to wave at them.
It's giving you the option to wave.
So please, if you're on Instagram, if you're on our Facebook, please wave at us. Please give us a thumbs up, a wave so that we can shout you out. This podcast can be heard on any podcast source. And for the audio part of it, the video part of it lives on Brian Stewart Sr., our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and please hit the subscribe button so you can be notified when we have new episodes up. So today, domestic violence. Domestic violence has really started to be very popular. Yeah, I mean, domestic violence is starting to be very popular. Yes, it's a lot of people are doing it. I mean, committing domestic violence.
I don't know.
Crime.
Popular is a word to use. I would think popular is like a sense of positive experience. Popular. You probably want to say it's becoming more common.
It's okay. I'll go with that. Okay, I'll go with that. It's coming very common. I wouldn't say popular, but I guess the wife is saying popular is something in a positive realm, but it's becoming very common. And going on down the line, I've got some statistics that we'd like to talk about because I've done a little research on this domestic violence. And first and foremost, we would say that if any of you guys are going through domestic violence, we want to start this off by giving the domestic violence hotline number, which is 800-799-7233. Again, the National Domestic Violence hotline number is 800-799-7233. And so I think the first question is, before we get into our statistics, and we are going to do a lot of statistics for you, is statistics. Is that right? Statistics?
Yes.
Is why people don't report domestic violence.
Hi, is this Miss Monique telling me hi? Hey, y'all. I'm sorry if I didn't speak to you.
Ambitious cat.
Hey, y'all. How y'all doing? I try to let him get all that beginner speech out, y'all. So that's why you just see me here fixing my ponytail. But hey.
I read something that it says 1 out of every 3 women will be involved into domestic violence. 1 out of every 3? 1 out of every 3.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. That is a lot. In fact, I'll go ahead and I'll start off my statistics, right? So I've got like 4 or 5 statistics that I want to blow through, and we can kind of discuss that, all right? It says more than 1 in 3 women and more than 1 out of every 4 men in the U.S. experience rape, physical violence, or some stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime. Nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States, all right? During a year, that this adds up to over 10 million women and guys that, will go through domestic violence at some point in time. This is the last thing that I'll share, and then we'll start. 1 out of 4 women and 1 out of 7 men have experienced severe physical violence by an intimate partner during their lifetime. So, I mean,
that's a lot of people. That's a lot of women.
That's a lot.
Let's be clear. Men can be physically abused as well, or
right.
They can go through domestic violence as well, because understand that domestic violence is not just a sense of physical. It can be mental and emotional as well. So,
I guess the big question for me, and I don't know, you guys can help me out, is I also had a statistic, and I'll get to it in a minute, and it says the majority of the people who go through domestic violence never report it. And so just want to talk through why people, if you're being physically or mentally or emotionally abused, why don't you talk about it? Like, why don't you tell people? Why don't you report it? Whether it's through siblings, you can report it to your mom, you could report it to best friends, you could also report it to law officials. Like, why do people not report it? Why do you think that is, babe?
I think it's out of fear. Most people just don't do it out of fear. So I've had so many people to say, like, first of all, I think it's fear, as I stated, but I've had so many people to say, girl, I can never go through that. You know what I mean? It's always kind of the female base that says, I can never go through that. I would never let nobody put their hands on me, or I would never let anybody emotionally or mentally abuse me or whatever. And so you never really know until you're in that situation. And so being in a situation where it's some form of violence, domestic violence, again, whether it's mentally, physically, and emotionally, it starts off as like a controlling thing. It's kind of like it's a controlling mechanism. They try to isolate you from family, friends, and then it comes to, because they isolate you from family and friends because they don't want these people to know that they're in some form abusing you. Outside of such, again, it's just about being in control. So at the beginning of situationships, relationships, marriages that turns out to be abusive, for some odd reason, as women, I can only speak as a woman, I can't speak for a man. But as women, we think, oh my goodness, girl, he loves me. Girl, he don't want me to go out with my friends. Or he doesn't want me to wear this. Or he doesn't want me to wear my hair like that. Or he doesn't want me to do. So you think that's cute. Like, you really think it's cute for someone to be able to control your every move, your every say, what you can say, what you cannot say, what you cannot do. When in fact, that's kind of how things start off. And a large statistic that Brian did not mention is people will say, it was just a one-time thing because he was mad. He was just so mad, and I should have just not said anything,
They
or
make
I should have
excuses
just
for him.
basically just kind of curbed my attitude because he was already upset. He was already upset by what happened on the streets or blah, 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 whatever. So most of it just kind of comes from fear, but also understands there is a process of domestic violence. Like, you have some that start off with it, but then you also have some that basically kind of nurture you into that. And so, as I said, it starts with
There's levels to it.
yes, it's like an isolation from family and friends. And then it leads from isolation from family and friends to what you can and cannot do, what you can and cannot wear, to yelling, screaming, hollering, to just a sense of just intimidating you. You're fearful, controlled, and then somehow it gets to be something that's physical. And the bothersome part for me is that when I hear people say, girl, I would never do that. I could never let a person, and you just like, hush, because you have no earthly idea what that fear looks like of looking someone that lays beside you and told you that they loved you. You have no idea what their fear is like when they're either put a gun to your head, threaten to kill you, threaten to kill your children, threaten to harm you even more than they've harmed you before. That's a different type of fear. So that's the reason why a lot of it has not been reported, because the aggressor always tends to get into the mind of the person first and make them fearful.
So it's great that you say that, because the aggressor, I have signs that if you have female friends or you have male friends, these are the things that you look for when someone is being the aggressor, like Shanetta said, or one of your friends are going through domestic violence. This is what their partner who's committing the act will be. I have 12 signs that you look for, because what's up, Shia? 12 signs, and then we'll read the comments. All right, it's 12 signs. It says, first of all, they're telling you that you never do anything right. That aggressor is always saying that about. Showing extreme jealousy of your friends and time spent away from them, like Shanetta said, wants to control you. Preventing or discouraging you from spending time with your friend and family and peers. Insulting, demeaning, and shaming you, especially in front of others. So if they're talking crazy about you, just disrespecting you in front of others, that's a sign that they are being physically abused. For preventing you from making your own decisions, including work and attending school. So if they're doing that, that's another sign. We've already did that. Controlling finances in the household without discussion, including taking your money and refusing to provide money for necessary expenses. They try to control your money. Your money is tied to you. They're controlling you. Pressuring you to have sex or perform sexual acts that you're not comfortable with, right? Pressuring you to use drugs or alcohol. Intimidating you through threatening looks or actions. Insulting your parenting or threatening to harm or take away your children or your pets. All right, intimidating you with weapons like guns, knives, bat, or mace. And destroying your belongings at home. Those are some signs that if you have friends and their mate are doing those type of things.
You would never know. You would have no idea. You have no earthly idea. It's so weird because people that are in abusive situations, it's crazy because they are some of the best actors and actresses in the world. So it's not a taught thing. You're not taught to do so, but when you go out in the public eye, you can't dare let someone else know that you're being abused. So whereas it's giving all these tips and things to look for, you will never see these things to the person that's being abused because you're taught to be an excellent actress. You're taught to go out into the public and make everybody deem as if you're okay. And that means covering up any physical bruises. If there's some that's in the face, I've seen women wear makeup. If it's a mental and or emotional thing, I have to pretend like I'm okay. I have to project the image that nothing is happening, because understand, if you go out and project the image that something's going on in your home, when you get back home, it's going to be worse than it was prior to you going out. So it's so difficult for these domestic violence advocators to say, look for this in this person that's being abused. You will have no earthly idea until you're either told about the situation or their life has been taken away and it's too late. There aren't any signs to look for because you will never see them. You just won't ever see them. It just doesn't happen like that. It's not one of those things to look for if a child's being abused. If a child's being abused, you pretty much there are signs to doing so. They may not, look at you in the eye, or they may be uncomfortable around a person that's abusing them. There are things you can kind of look for in that. But when someone's being abused domestically, those signs and things, I'm telling you, it teaches you how to be a great actor and actress. And I say actor because men could be
physically abused.
They can be abused as well.
Yeah.
They tend to be shy away from definitely saying something because they're a man. And so they feel like they're too prideful to let someone know that they're being abused, whether it's by a same-sex mate or it's by opposing sex mate. It's just something that they feel like, okay, I can't let anybody know that because then it's going to be a question of my manhood. So those things you just will never know. You have no idea.
You got some comments in there?
So I've spoken to everybody that's on it. So anyway, so Ashia says it's definitely about control. Women can confuse love or the man being protective with control. So that's exactly what I said. I'm telling y'all, per me, it starts off with making sure you have some type of low self-esteem, and then control is the control mechanism. They make you feel nobody's going to want you but me, especially if you have children. If you've lost an exceedingly amount of weight, if you've gained an exceedingly amount of weight, if your physical appearance has changed, sometimes nothing has changed about you. Sometimes nothing has changed and they will still make you believe in your mind that no one else is going to want you. No one else is going to want you and nobody else is going to treat you the way I treat you. Good, better, indifferent. They make you believe that there's none other than them. And you start believing that there's seriously none other than them. So, it's difficult. It's really difficult. And it's a pleasurable place for me, just because that's why I want to talk about it for so much, because there's so many women that has been through it and ashamed to talk about it, or just for that reason. I think most women are just ashamed to talk about it. I don't think it's for anything other than that. Sometimes it's the people that you never even really thought. However, in discussing this topic, it's because, as it's kind of Brian said from the beginning, it's not popular, but he kind of said that it's becoming more common. Yeah. People are getting killed. Like, people are getting, listen, let me just say this for the record. Don't ever make me feel like you cannot live without me. Don't ever. Listen, if someone tells me that I love you so much to where I can't live without you, I'm out. Like, peace, I'm out. I'm out. Like, that's not good. That's not good for me. That's not good for you. Because when people feel like they can't live without you, they mean that, which means if you choose to leave me, I can't function. I can't go on without you. And so in that sense, that then tells me if I decide to pick up and leave you because of my sense of unhappiness, you're going to kill me and kill yourself because you just can't be without me. People have been acting on that phrase more lately and making women feel like they just can't live without them. So I'm telling y'all, if someone tells you that.
So, you were talking about just death, and I have the statistics here. Is just that every month, an average of 70 women are shot and killed by an intimate person. That's over 840 women nationally that are killed by somebody that you think love you, that your partner, that you're an intimate person with, that. And I read another, and this was in 2015. The updated one said every day that 3 people are killed. So that was like 90. So that's went up from 2015. 90 women a month are murdered, shot and killed by somebody who was their partner.
Let me just say this. If it's by chance, for those of you that's watching, if it's by chance that you know and or are under suspicion that someone's being abused, the best thing you could do for them is try to just get them out the situation in which they cannot return. So understand, a lot of times.
So explain that when you say in which they cannot return.
Okay, so when I say get them out of the situation in which they cannot return.
Now, real quick, for those who are logging on, we're talking about domestic violence today. I see a lot of people just came on. We're talking about domestic violence, and Shanetta's saying how to get them out of it.
Yeah, so when I say get someone out of the situation where they cannot return, that means that get them away to where they have no ties to the person and they just don't need them anymore. You're doing them a disservice if you get them out the situation and they live 5 miles away. You're basically making the situation worse because that person is going to get to them and intimidating them into coming back. So no matter how much you try to hide them out, let them come stay with you because you the sister, you the cousin, you the whomever, you're their savior. You still have not gotten them in a safe place. So you're putting them in more harm and more danger than protecting them. You're putting them in a very bad space because at some point in their minds, they feel like they really need this person. So they're going to find a way to have to go back. So
and that person had made them very dependent of them as well.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
the reason why they
Typically
feel like
they
they
do.
need that person,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
So we've got Mrs. Shanitra
Hey,
Lipsy. What up,
Tank?
Tank Rello is there.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this. What about reporting it to someone? Is that a way to get someone out of a very
No.
domestic? So do not report it to the authorities. Do not call the domestic violence hotline. You're saying that they need to just be there for them to try to remove them
I'm
physically.
saying that if you cannot permanently get that person out the situation, you're putting them in more harm than help.
Reporting.
Like if you cannot get them out of there, and the opposing part of that is that sometimes when you report it to the police gonna come knock on your door and be like, "Hi, we received a disturbing phone call that there was such and such and such and such." And again, most times
that makes it worse.
the woman is in the back room. The guy's coming to the door and he's telling her, if you say something, I'm gonna blow your head off. If you say something, I'm gonna kill you. If you say something, I'm gonna hurt you even worse. And they leave. So now she's in the back, and then the police says, okay, so we got a report of a disturbance of whatever has happened. And then they came and knocked on the door. So now the woman has to come to the door. And as I told you guys, be an actress and say, oh, sir, nothing's wrong. It's okay.
Good.
Everything's fine.
I don't know who called.
And unless she has some physical bruises or something of the sort, then there's no further question. So now the door has been closed, and he will probably go back to abusing her way more than what has happened because you just put my livelihood in danger. So to the aggressor, he feels like even if you weren't the person that called the police, whomever called the police and made the authorities come to their home, you have now almost got me arrested, charged, whatever. So now you're about to get it 10 times worse because there could be the possibility that I could have went to jail, or someone would have known that I'm doing this to you. Most times people that are doing are just cowards and they just don't want to be caught. They are cowards and seriously don't want to be caught. So the ones that's on the opposing end, the victim that's having to take it, don't understand how much you protect your aggressor. A lot of times you're protecting your aggressor. You're protecting them. You're protecting their professional character, their personal character. You're protecting them from losing their job. You're protecting them from losing their freedom, their sanity. You don't understand as a victim how much you're protecting your aggressor just going through that. It's a lot to go through. It's a bunch. It's just too much.
So, it almost got me to thinking, what's the primary age? And so I looked up targets. And so I wanted to know who's primarily the age and the race of most of this domestic violence, not the offenders, but the person that's being offended. All right. And so the victims. And so here's what I found. It says young women, low income women, and some minorities are disproportionately victims of domestic violence and rape. Women ages 20 to 24 are at the greatest risk of non-fatal domestic violence. I'm going to say that again. Women under the ages of 20 to 24 is at the greater risk of non-fatal, which means they don't kill you. The women ages 24 and under suffer from the highest rates of rape. All right. The Justice Department estimates that 1 out of every 5 women will experience rape or attempted rape during their college years, and less than 5% of these rape will be reported. So 1 out of 5, that's about 20%, and less than 5% of those people won't even say anything. So you're being victimized, and like Shanetta said, you're very dependent upon the person who's abusing you, but you don't tell. Some of these rape people are done by uncles and aunts and close family members. So when you tell, obviously some of them are being shamed and not telling. Some of them feel like whoever the accuser is going to oust them, and whoever you tell is not going to believe you. So there's a lot of factors that go into not reporting when somebody is raping you, when somebody is being physically abusive to you, mentally abusive to you. You don't say anything. She is saying something. What did she said? What?
She says, I agree. There are instances of women being abused and continuously staying because they're too scared to leave. Primarily happens in minorities in their early 20s.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm just telling y'all.
Listen, Linda, listen.
Don't let somebody love you that much. It's fine. Understand this. It's fine for someone to love you, but I don't want you to love me so much to where you feel like you can't live without me. There's another side to that as well. Date on your level. Like, date where you need to be, because if you're dating as a woman, if you're dating a guy that you normally wouldn't date, but you gave him a chance and or opportunity, and now he has someone that he knows it's probably someone I probably wouldn't get by chance, that's also a no-no, because they do the exact same. They know for sure I'm not supposed to be with her. Like, dang, I
got lucky.
I looked up and got me somebody, and now I really want to keep her. I want to keep her around me, because typically I wouldn't be able to get this type of person. Now that I have this person, I'm going to cut her down as small as I can.
Try to make her be on your level.
To make her understand that nobody wants her but me. Nobody wants to... There isn't anyone that can do the things for her as I do for her. So make sure that you're dating where you need to be. And I'm serious. I am so
dating on your level is very important.
I'm so serious when I say I don't want anyone that. Listen, let me just say this. I'm a whole 10 out here.
You what?
Listen, I'm a whole 10 out here. Like, let me tell you something. I'm not just talking about looks. Like, seriously.
What am I, Netta? What am I?
I'm a whole 10 out. I'm talking about me.
Okay.
I'm a whole 10 out here. Like, you get it all. You just get it all. I'm very domestic. I look a little cute sometimes. I'm a professional. I'm it, right? I'm very cocky. So I'm it for those that need it, right? Even in all of that, I don't want you to feel like you can live without me. I want you to feel like there is somebody else out there that's better than me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want you to feel like I'm just the it all be all with all the attributes that I have to provide and give. I also want you to feel like there is somebody out there that's better than her. Because if you feel like there isn't anybody out there that's better than me, you're gonna be that person. And I don't want to be loved to death. I don't want to be loved to death. There's so much that I have to offer. I have children. I just don't want it. Like, y'all be happy with these guys telling y'all, oh, I'm sprung, and oh, you can't get rid of me now.
Gotta be careful.
Or, oh, you really did it to me. You shouldn't have cooked that meal for me. Y'all think that's something to be pleasured up on. That is nothing to be pleasured up on, because I'm telling you, that's where that starts. That's where it starts revolving and building a snowball. It's a snowball effect. That's where it starts. Like, I don't want that. I don't want that love.
We have some comments.
Ashia says it primarily happens in minorities in their early 20s. She said it's also hard when the abuser goes to jail but are out in a matter of hours back at the home. Absolutely. You don't have time to get your ass out. Yo-Yo says, I was in an abusive relationship from 19 to age 23. I was too ashamed and embarrassed to tell anyone.
That's common. That's common, Yo-Yo.
Tank said, fam, you a 10. You talking about me?
Right. No,
I know Tank.
Me.
I know Tank. I know. I'm a 10.
Said, what am I?
I'm a 10 plus 10. But no, seriously, like, and just Yo-Yo's comment, like, it's very common. It's the women that you would just never guess, right? It's the women that you would never, ever, ever guess. Nevertheless, let me just say this. It's nothing to be ashamed of. So let's be very clear. I never want any woman and or man to feel like being in an abusive situation, regardless of what the abuse was, it's something to be ashamed of. Mm-hmm. It's an experience. It's something that has happened. Pray and thank God that you made it out alive, because there are so many people that haven't. There are so many people that are now struggling in current relationships because of what they went through in their previous relationships and their marriages. So just be grateful and just be blessed and understand that you made it out. There are so many people that just did not. And that's why I'm saying I'm very careful and strategic about how I want people to feel about me and how I feel about them. And it's from a previous situation. It had everything previously to do with a person that I was with before. Like, no, sir. Baby, I don't care what I have to offer. Don't like me like that. Like, I don't want you. Listen, go on. It's okay.
And I think a lot of the accusers, or a lot of the people who were victims, feel like they did something to deserve that. You know what I mean? And so that's another reason why you're ashamed, because you feel like, well, if I hadn't said that, like Shanetta said, or if I hadn't worn that, if I hadn't went that place.
I never did.
I just feel like he was a damn fool. We're talking about is you and others. So
nobody feel like they're responsible for that. Now, let me just say that you give excuses for it happening because you want to go, but you can't. So it's one thing to give an excuse. It's a whole nother thing to blame yourself for the reason of the action. I never blame myself. Like, to an extent to where you kind of have to feel them out. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm coming home from work and he's coming home from work, or I'm home and he's coming home from work, like, I would just kind of call and be like, just to kind of see how he's feeling. Like, hey, what's up? You know, what's going on with you today? You straight? You know, what happened out on the streets? You blah, 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 whatever. Just to kind of see what type of mood he's going to be in getting home. Now, let me just say this.
Taking the temperature.
Let me just say this. The only person that has whooped my ASS is Ernestine McClendon Banks, and rest her soul. My daddy, and I don't think he ever whooped me. No, because I would beat him up.
Your daddy?
My daddy.
You beat your dad?
Yeah, I beat him up. No, just kidding. But my people that raised me didn't whoop me. Brian says it all the time. Like, y'all spoiled the hell out of her. Y'all should have whooped her tail. That's why she's so spoiled. But
yeah, I did tell her that.
What I learned in being in a physically abusive marriage, what I learned was,
and it's not this marriage too.
It's not this marriage, because I pull him up in his collar. I'm just playing. I did not abuse this man. I dare you to say you did.
I ain't say that because I'm be saying B-Level getting his ass put by Shanetta. Nah, bro.
Anyway, in a previous marriage, here's what I had to understand. I'm very mouthy. My husband now can tell you I'm very mouthy. I don't shut down easily. Like, you ain't just going to stand in my face and talk to me crazy. You're also not going to just stand in my face and put your hands on me. What I learned in the situation, and you also have to kind of search your own situation. What I learned is the more mouthy I was, or the more defensive I was, the worse it was. You know what I mean?
So the worse your physical abuse was.
Yes, like
because you were talking smack.
Yeah, because I'm like, oh, fuck ass nigga, you ain't gonna just be talking to me crazy, or
and pow right in the kisser.
Because understand that I'm light bright dang near white, so there was never a sense of hitting me in my face, like none of that. No, because in hitting me in my face, I'm a bruise, I'm gonna be red, I have a black eye, I have a busted lip. No, it was like pushing me down the hallway, or break. One time I think he broke my damn tailbone, but it's things. Yeah. Wow. So it's like stuff like that. So I was like, okay, listen, I gotta chill out, because the more I defend myself, or the more I be, with my mouth like, fuck you, bitch ass nigga. But the more those things happen, the worse off it may become. It's a bad situation, to the point I can speak about it now, because again, as I said, it's nothing for me to be ashamed of. I'm out of the situation. Mothers understand it doesn't only have an effect on you, it has an effect on your children.
So a question. Did you tell anybody?
I never told anybody.
Wow.
Here's when I knew it was time for me to go. Let me just say this. I knew it was time for me to go when it was a time for me to go a long time ago. Let me say that for the record. But I had children. Mm-hmm. He had kind of got in my mind with that. Like, it got in my mind with,
nobody's gonna want you.
Nobody's
gonna
want you.
Yeah.
Like, you're a young lady. I have 4 children, so I still have 4 beautiful children. But anyway, you have 4 children. You nice looking, but you really small. Just bullshit, right? Mm-hmm. So a situation happened, and I called like my best friend. She was in Texas, I think maybe, and I called her. I said, listen, this is how I know it's time for me to go. Because I used to sit up at night, Lord, I hope that nothing ever happens to him, because I ain't gonna do nothing to him. But it was like, I said, listen, I was trying to find ways to kill him. And
it gotten that bad.
Yeah, I was trying to think of ways to kill him, and no one would know that I did it in real life. Wow. Because I was like, listen, I'm the wife, so I will be the one they would ask for an autopsy or something. I'm just gonna say no. It was just that bad. Like, when I was sitting up I would sit up and just look at him at night, like, I just want you to die.
While he was asleep?
Yeah, while while he was asleep. Like, I just want you to die. But I knew that there wasn't a sense for me to run away in opportunities where he traveled with work or went to a training or something. When those things happen, it wasn't a way for me to kind of really get out of the situation because he was working in law enforcement. He was also close with my family because, again, my family had no idea that this is happening. I should be an Oscar-winning actress because I acted my ass off not the whole time, but the majority of the time that I was with him. So people didn't know a lot of people didn't know until we divorced and separated. People just didn't know. They knew his character, but they didn't know that, we were in there. I was dodging bullets and shit. Like, all that stuff.
Is that why you're real aggressive now?
Oh, for sure.
That had a lot to do why you're so aggressive now is because, you were being, physical. Was it mental as well? Or was it just physical abuse?
He wasn't smart enough for it to be mental.
So it was mental. So it was physical. Mm-hmm. And obviously the physical was probably a little emotional, right? Because, you were wondering, how could this person...
Yeah, I think the emotional piece for me was more like for my daughters. Right. Because there was some separation in which I got a divorce, but my next to the youngest, one of my daughters is just very nervous. She was just nervous. She was nervous. It made her in her shell. She was very introverted. She was really shy. It took no bullshit. It took years for her to get out of that mode, and all of that came from me feeling like you didn't hear the fussing. Me feeling like you didn't hear the screaming and yelling and arguing. But in fact, you did. You know what I mean? So it was like an unspoken conversation when I left, got a divorce, we separated. It was a conversation amongst myself and the kids. And here's what you guys have to understand. Our children know way more than you think and or believe because once I was gone and I was gone for sure, I kind of left everything. Like I left everything pretty much.
Started over.
Yes.
Said you could have it all.
I was like, hey, listen, I'm out. Because but understand, it was almost like the fourth time I said I was gone. So that's like my fourth time saying I was going to leave. But this time he was like, oh, this is like another.
Normal.
Yeah.
She'll be back.
She'll be back.
You're black. You're ugly.
I was like, baby.
Like Color Purple.
You can have it all. I'm out this piece, right? Just give me what I can get for me and my children. I'm out of here. So I leave. So because my children had to adjust to not having everything, to now having some peace and still not having everything for a little while, we had a conversation. And in my conversation, my two older children were like, we're glad. Like, you don't understand how happy we are that you're happy that you're not there anymore.
And so what you're saying is you thought you were doing them a favor by keeping them stuff and things, nice homes, nice vehicles. But it was so much hell in this nice home and riding in this nice vehicle that when you left, you took a financial hit, downsized, went to a place where you didn't have this great luxurious home. You wasn't driving these new vehicles, but the kids said
I always
that they...
give them Mercedes. Let's be clear.
But the kids said that they were so much happy for you, even though we didn't have the luxury of having this big home. But it was so much love and so much happiness in this small apartment or wherever you moved.
Yeah, it was just us.
Yeah. And you think that the kids don't know. You think that you're protecting them by staying there and giving them things and stuff.
Because he was in law enforcement, so he was very strategic. You know what I mean? He was very strategic as to not being physical like in front of the kids or not having yelling and screaming matches in front of the kids or pulling a gun on me in front of the kids. He was very strategic as to how that thing happened. Not only was he just strategic because of the fact of the children, but also because of his career. Right. And so that was kind of like my final conversation with him. And when I finally left, first of all, he was just like, oh, I'm finna kill myself. So one day I got so tired of hearing, I was like, just go ahead and kill yourself. God damn.
That was a threat, right?
I'm so tired of you talking about you gonna kill yourself. Just go on and kill yourself. Go on. Just go on, kill yourself. But then when I said that, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Don't kill yourself. Because I also asked his superior not to get rid of him. Like, listen, I've already left him. Right. I've left him
He's lost his wife.
With my children. So he's lost his family. He's lost his wife. He lost his family. He cannot lose his job because if he lose his job, he is absolutely going to kill me and kill himself because that was the only thing he had left. Had he he lost everything within a blink of an eye. And at the point when he realized I wasn't really coming back, our family wasn't coming back, all he had left was his career. So had his career been stripped away, I felt like that was just going to be final destination for me and him as well, because he would have lost everything. So it was kind of like a plea, like, listen, I don't give a damn what he has done to me. Make sure he keep this. Don't let him lose his job because of me.
So it's just interesting. What was the last straw that really made you say, you know, even though you had left 4 or 5 times and you'd come back, what was the last straw that said, you know what, I'm out and I'm never coming back? What was it? What was it for you?
He kidnapped me one day from work.
Was that the last straw? Was that the last time?
Yes, yes. He kidnapped me one day from work. Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was at work.
And so you actually, like you said, you have to give them away. You moved. You were living in another city. You moved to Little Rock. Mm-hmm. And so even though he could have come to Little Rock and gotten you and kind of tried to beg you back, it was 45 minutes away. So it wasn't as easy. You made it a little bit difficult. Mm-hmm. And even still then, the stories that you tell me, there were attempts to get you back, because you moved to Jacksonville first, right? Mm-hmm. And then you came to Little Rock. But I remember you telling me about a situation that was in Jacksonville.
Well, that was strategic too, because understand that I had the day he called himself kidnapped. He did kidnap me. He didn't call himself. He kidnapped me from work. The next day, the following day, I went to work. I just had enough, right? So he was in law enforcement, as I told you guys. So I called someone else in the agency and said, listen, this is kind of what's been going on. On my lunch break, I went to an attorney and I said, how much would you charge me to file for divorce?
Okay.
And I told him the situation. He said, well, not only will I file for divorce, I will go ahead and do emergency custody, but it's going to be this much amount of money. So I give him the money, right?
Okay.
Go back to work. I go to work. I call him. I say, listen, I called my ex at the time. So I called him and said, my kids were at home with him. I said, listen, when I get off from work today, I'm coming home and I'm getting my kids' things and my things, and I'm leaving. And I don't know if it was just the sound of my voice. I don't know if it was because it just sounded realistic. I had no idea. But he came up to my job. Sat in my car. My branch manager at the time, I was in banking, of course, and my branch manager at the time called me and said, someone's sitting outside in your car. I was like, huh? I said, let me go out here and see. Because mind you, I'm big bad Netta. She was like, no, the hell you're not. Because mind you, he just kidnapped me from a damn job.
Before then?
She said, no, you're not. And I said, yes, let me see. She said, come in my office, look out the window, and you can see who it is. So I go in her office. Look out the window. He's sitting in my car. He had someone to bring him up to my job, and he's sitting in my car.
Okay.
So I guess he see me looking at him. So he comes to the bank door and tries to get in. But we have the magnetic doors.
So you have to be buzzed in.
So she locked the doors. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up calling the law enforcement agency, like, listen, this is what's been going on. This is what's been happening. I'm ready to go.
I'm moving away. I'm moving on.
Yes. Can you dispatch some units here so I can go get my stuff? So this person kind of called and was like, he was like, I'm not going to put it over the radio, because he carried his radio with him all the time.
Right.
He said, I'm not going to put it over the radio because I don't want him to know that we're on our way.
Right.
So the units came. However, some messy chick was working down at Mecca. So she called him and told him, you need to leave because the police are on their way.
Okay.
So he ended up leaving in my car.
Okay. He just drove off with you.
He just drove off. All so right. I made it. They escorted me to the home. My sisters and my aunt and stuff, so they escorted me to the home. He didn't want me to take anything because we had I think 3 vehicles. We had a car, we had a SUV, and then he had a work truck.
Okay.
So he took his work truck and parked it diagonal in front of our garage, so I couldn't take none of the vehicles.
Okay.
So I was like, fuck it, I just want to leave. Okay. I don't care. The whole time I'm trying to get things to leave, he's steady telling them, let me talk to her. I want to talk to her. Let me talk to her. They're like, no, let her get her stuff.
Right.
So that was my driving point. Now, let me just tell you how strategic it was. I had money saved.
So you had been putting money back, right?
Yes, I had money saved. I moved. I did move to Jacksonville. I only stayed in Jacksonville maybe 3 or 4 nights. And then I went to Little Rock. Even when I went to Little Rock, because, again, mind you, he's in law enforcement. So any information he needed to find out about me, he can use
whatever sources,
Arkansas,
whatever resources,
ACIS, whatever it is, NCIS. He can use these things to find out my address. So I was like, hey, I called somebody and said, hey, can you run my name and make sure that my new address does not come up in the system in E911? Can you make sure in E911 that my new address doesn't come up? So that's how I was comfortable. Not even comfortable, because for months leaving out of my place,
You were nervous.
I was nervous. Like, this thing, he's just gonna pop up anywhere. Because that's when he was saying, even after the divorce, I'm gonna kill myself. I can't live without you. I'm in the house. I hear you calling my name. I'm like, okay, listen, I can't. I just cannot. So on some real shit, I was so happy when he found somebody else. When he finally found someone else, I was like, okay, I'm in the clear, because it's someone else. And not even just someone else that he liked. It was someone that he was in a consistent relationship with. Because while he was dating people, I was still a constant.
Right.
So that still made me feel like I was in fear. So I'm like, So yes, badly enough, that leads to my current aggression a little bit. I'm a little bit aggressive.
Because of that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Charles has a comment, right? We're right here.
He says, we are lovers, not fighters in our family, but we do love hard because we were taught to love, not to fight. And that's okay. Yo-Yo says, right. I fought back and I was very mouthy, but when he would be disrespectful to me, I would do the same thing. It's hard, especially when you like, listen, I can't let you talk to me like that. You know what I mean? Like,
but so let's go back, because you know when I think of you, right? I don't really think of, even though you were being domestic abused, right? I don't think of you as the normal
hey, Ken,
abused woman.
What does that look like?
Well, when I think of the normal, and you know, it's just in my mind, somebody that's really afraid, timid. I don't think even you were you afraid because you were talking crap like you wasn't afraid. Were you afraid of him?
Yes.
You were.
Yes.
But you were fronting like you wasn't? Because you said you were mouthy. So how could somebody mouthy be afraid?
I just said I was mouthy. Mind you, I have a very, I think that's probably, okay, listen, I'm a 10, y'all, but I do have a mouth. The older I get, the calmer I get. But I still have a little snappy attitude sometimes. So I still have that because that's a normal me. But what I mean by, in the moments of arguing, like I'll say, oh, bitch ass nigga, you know, it's that, you know what I mean? Like it was kind of that. Or if we were arguing and he has his say, it was like, I defended that, or I'm just like, who the fuck you talking to? It was that right there. Like I could not be defensive in my stance. And again, it took me a while to learn, like, Netta, just shut up.
But you were afraid of him. So if you were afraid of him, I'm asking in my mind, well, why were you talking shit if you were afraid of him?
It was a learned behavior. I had to learn to just shut the fuck up. I just had to learn, like, listen, understand that the less you say, the less it will be. Yeah. But it took a minute for me to learn that because, again, understand, I have a little mouth a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I think the worst of parts was like, listen, listen, y'all. I am now 160. I don't mind telling y'all. I am now like 167 pounds. Prior to moving here, I was probably like 103. Anybody that knows me like pre-Pine Bluff or, you know, Pine Bluff pre-Little Rock, I was very small. Up on moving here, I gained maybe like, I went to like 120. Over the course of years, I've gained like 40 pounds. Nevertheless, I was very small. And so even with me, here's what I had to learn and tell myself after the fact. He was more threatened by me than I was of him.
Meaning?
Because I was 103 pounds.
Yeah, so
at
you wasn't
times,
a threat
I got down to
him.
97 pounds.
Yeah.
I was no threat to you. So pulling guns on me and shooting past my damn head, like for what? What are you doing that for? What can I do to you to get you to a point to where you want to pull a gun on me in our home and now you want to lay beside me tonight and tell me you love me? Are you retarded?
So how long did this happen?
Let's see how long we together. It was probably, I think the first little incident was when I had my daughter, and we were together maybe a year or two, maybe, I guess so. But definitely during the course of our whole marriage. Of course, me thinking my babies and marriage was going to make a difference. So I figured, he ain't nobody I'd be dating no way. But
you were dating not on your level?
I did the goofy.
Beneath your level.
I did the goofy.
Okay.
I really did.
So you didn't tell me how long. So you said
I don't know. It was like
I'm
3
years,
how long
4?
we married. Okay, wait. Let me add. And Madison, so let me see. 2007. We were married 4 years. We were married 4 years.
So the whole 4 years, 3 years of that?
The whole 4 years. Okay. The whole part of our marriage was...
And 4 years, you were being physically abused.
In one of my wedding pictures, you could see like a red, like whip or something on my neck because he choked me and I was trying to scratch his eyes out or some shit. But yeah, it's like in one of my old wedding pictures. Of course, I have new ones, but yeah.
But you stayed, and you stayed because of the things that he used to say, which you thought obviously.
Not what he used to say, shit. What he used to do. Let me just say this: the worst thing I could have done was allow him to isolate me, and nobody knew. So listen. No one could advise me. She said, don't move all the way out there on Highway 104 where you have no neighbors.
Right.
Don't move all the way out there where you have no
that's
neighbors.
What you done, right?
Because
isolating you.
Yeah, no one knew. So nobody knew.
Didn't want you to go around family.
No one can tell me don't move out that far because if you need help, your neighbors are there. No one told me that. So it was like, okay, I'm just going to we moved all the way out there. And that was probably the worst mistake I had ever made because now I can shoot at you and shit and just go in the woods or something. I don't know. But yeah, it was definitely during the course of our marriage.
And I think ultimately you always talk about either you had a dream or some lady told you is the reason why you left that you would be murdered, that you wouldn't live past this marriage unless you got out of it.
Yes, you did.
And somebody that you really trusted and believed said, hey, you need to get out of this. And so you took heed of that. Gathered your children, didn't care about what you took, didn't care if you had this big house that you lived in, didn't care if you had the 3 vehicles that you guys owned, and you just basically said, I can start over, I can take and I can leave with my insanity. I've been bruised, but I haven't been broken, and you moved out.
Yeah, we got on down.
No friends tried to help you. None of your friends even knew that you were being physically abused, right? Did you tell any of your friends?
I think I told one of my friends in Texas, but it was at that time. It was almost towards the end, and that's when I told her like I had to leave because if I don't leave, like I really want to kill him. Right. It was that bad.
So it could have ended in either way.
It was going to either end in my death or his death.
Him killing you or you killing.
Because mind you, as I said, I was 97. At times, I was 97 pounds soaking wet.
So what did it do? Because obviously we met a year afterwards. I didn't meet you until a year after your divorce. What did it do to you for your next relationship? Somebody's singing in the house. What did it do to you for your next relationship? Obviously, you say now that you're really aggressive, right?
Yes, I am aggressive, and I don't have time to be playing with y'all.
It made you really aggressive when it came to me, and I think even right now you're super aggressive, and I'm like. Because anybody know me, I'm
Why do you tell people, don't say I'm super aggressive.
You're super aggressive. And anybody that knows me, I am so laid back.
I just don't like people get on my nerves. Just don't get on my nerves. Shit.
But it made you very aggressive. You know what? Here's the other thing is that obviously we had an episode where we talked about fighting fair. And I think at some point in time when we are fighting and when we are arguing, I don't even think that you even see me as your husband sometimes.
I do not.
You know,
it's just the thing here.
You know, here's the other thing. It's sometimes I see you when you're mad at our children. Sometimes I think, well, that's a little harsh. Like, do you even see them as?
I always see my kids as my kids, but I definitely don't see you as my husband. I see you as like, what the fuck you just say? Like, don't say that. Don't say that. And don't do that.
So do you think that you that because you were physically abused, that you're still, dealing with some of that baggage that comes with being? Do you feel like
the only thing that it really teaches, the only thing that it says to me is just two. I have 2 principles from that situation.
Okay.
I don't want anybody to love me like that. And so that's hard because I just told y'all I was a 10. But anyway, so I don't want anyone to love me like that. And then also, as bad as it may be, as bad as it may sound, now, if someone gets in my personal space, this is the God's honest truth. If you're in my personal space and you show any signs of aggression, I'm going to hit you first.
Too close to you.
Do not get in my personal space and make me feel like you're aggressive with me, because when you're anywhere near my personal space and you're very abrasive, very aggressive, I have to get you before you get me. So that's my thought. So that may make me seem aggressive, but it just comes from that. It just comes from, because it's kind of how I felt. Like I have to do something to him, not him, but it's like, with people going forward, it's like I have to get you before you get me, because if you get me, you may be a little bit stronger. You may be, you may get me into a very vulnerable spot. However, if I get you first, it defends me. It's a defense mechanism, pretty much.
So Lolette, you got three comments.
Let's see. Lolette says, I've been there and I can relate. Physical abuse changes you as a person, makes you stronger and more focused. Absolutely. LaFrancis says, for me, although he never put his hands on me, he towered over me. I didn't trust that he wouldn't hit me. I knew he was scared of my family, so my out was to stop working and move back home with my mom. I know he wouldn't follow me there. I started over from there. That isolation is real. He would not let me have my family over either. I wasn't even married to this nut. Oh, but God. She said, I got out before it was physical abuse. That's real. Being afraid makes you dangerous because you can kill someone for fear of them getting you. She said, thank you for sharing. She also said it's a defense mechanism. I'm not aggressive with everybody. I am very aggressive with those, again, as I said, that I feel like are very abrasive towards me or in my personal space. If I feel like you're abrasive and aggressive, you're in my personal space, and I feel like you're about to try to cause me some type of bodily harm, I'm definitely going to probably pop off on you before you pop off on me first. And you can have no ill intentions. You can have no intentions of wanting to be physical with me. But because you're so close to me and you're being aggressive, I'm going to pounce on you before you pounce on me. And it's just from that situation, because realistically, I'm not that person. My sisters may say different because they say that now, like, Netta pounce on you like a cat. But, it's different. It gave me a totally different perspective on how to deal with people. Definitely how to deal with men. For sure. And
so as your friend, you were saying if you're a friend and you want to get somebody out that are going through domestic violence, you should be very supportive and listen and try to get them to a place of no return. And when you say no return, try to get them to move out of town, or try to get them to not have to be dependent upon whoever this person is who's being domestic violent against them. So try to remove them from, even though you cannot call the domestic violence hotline. So as a friend, you're very limited, and you only can leave if that person wants to leave.
Even when you call a domestic violence hotline, they just say, tell us what's going on. Tell us, how you feel. Do you feel suicidal? Is there a next of kin you would like for us to contact? None of those things can help you. None of those things are going to be conducive to the person that's being victimized. None of those things are going to help, because, again, as I said, now that you've told somebody that I'm doing this to you and you can't leave, or they can't get you out the situation, it's bad.
It's worse.
Yeah. J. Field says,
because you've sent somebody, when do you take aggressiveness?
No.
It says,
he said, when does love take aggressiveness away, or does it? It doesn't.
So J. Phil, I think she's still, I'll answer that one, J. Phil. I think she's very still aggressive. I knew a lot because my wife has probably told me most of these things that you guys are hearing today. And I just think that she's super, super aggressive.
I'm not, y'all. I'm really nice.
When we argue, I tell you, J. Phil, sometimes some of the shit she does, I'll be like, why would you even say anything like that? You know what I mean? And a lot of it, you know what I do pray though, J. Phil? I have prayed, and this has always been my prayer, that God transitions myself and my wife into the men and women that God called us to be. Because I knew that when I married her, she wasn't who I would like her to be.
What?
You wasn't who I would
Why you
like you to
then?
be.
Why you married me?
Because I loved you. I knew that you had great.
And you just
listen. I loved you. I knew that you had great fertile foundation.
You don't marry someone for what you think they could be.
You don't.
No one does. No one should.
You don't.
I don't need you to marry my potential. Okay. I need you to marry me
for... Well, that's basically what I said, the potential, right?
No, that's what I just said. I said, I don't want you to marry me. Do you want to get divorced? You don't marry someone for their potential. You don't marry someone for the woman. Because here's the thing. What happens if I was never the woman you needed me to be? You marry me for my present, and then as time surpasses... See, this is the reason why people renew their vows, because The person that I married 10 years ago doesn't guarantee me to be the same person that I'm going to be 10 years later. So that's why you don't marry someone potential. You don't marry me for the woman you thought I was going to be. You marry me for who I am at that moment.
So are you going to tell me why?
Yeah, I want to be married to somebody that's marry me for my potential, because my potential could not be what you think it's going to be.
That's your perception of it. And I respect
y'all better tell this man.
You got a comment here. Read that last comment.
LaFrancis says, I'm so grateful to God for healing me from this trauma. I am grateful for my spirituality, and I can honestly say my husband, through God's prompting, has helped me to be better. That's good. Wow. That's amazing.
Good, LaFrancis.
So she's basically said it's your fault that I'm still aggressive. LaFrancis says he married you because he saw the greatness that you are.
Well, LaFrancis, I did marry her because of the great person that she is, but I also knew that God was still working with her and me. And I prayed that God transitioned the both of us, not only just her, but me as well. And I think that I've continued to grow.
Chad, you don't marry nobody for their potential.
I wasn't the man that I am now. 9 years later, that God has transitioned me into be.
That had nothing to do with the price of tea of China. Because here's the thing, the person that I was 10 years ago can be good, better, and different. And so I may decide to, that's why marriage should be on a 5-year contract. Because every 5 years, you should be able to decide
Francis.
No. Every 5 years, you should be able to decide if you want to still continuously be in the marriage with this person that he is today, not the person he was 5 years ago. He says, because people tend to change in phases, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. So marriage needs to start coming with a warranty. Like your warranty need to be able to run out, and you need to be able to decide if I want to extend the warranty or not, because... Listen, I think Tyler Perry said that in his last movie. I said this on the last thing. In his last movie, he said, when you marry this man, I hope you're ready to marry several people. And she was like, no, it's just him, blah, blah. And he said, no, understand that the person that he is now is not going to be the person he's going to be 10 years from now. So that's why it needs to be a warranty. You need to let me know if I want to extend this warranty or if I want to just let the warranty just end, expire.
So finish what he said. So the person,
that's all he
now
said.
You are the person that you're going to transition to be, right? Did he say that? What did he say?
You ain't even watched the movie because you said it was boring.
So you're not.
He said the person, you're going to marry several people.
Okay.
And he also said that the person that you marry today is not going to be the person that he was or will be 10 years from now. He didn't say transition to be.
So if that means he's going to change. He's going to.
Yes, people change. People change. And as I said, that's what I'm telling you. There needs to be let me just say something. Governor Asa Hutchinson. Somebody tag him. You need to make a law in Arkansas. I don't care about any other place. Make a law in Arkansas that says now marriages come with warranties. You don't marry somebody how can I even foresee your potential? You don't foresee somebody's potential. You don't foresee them being great. That's just like me saying, okay, my son plays 9th grade football, and because he's a great safety in 9th grade football, he's going to sign up to be in the league. I see the potential of him being in the league. No, he may get into 10th grade, 11th grade, and tear his ACL, and he's just screwed. Like his potential.
I think you can tone it down a little bit.
No.
I think everybody marries and hope that you get to be a better partner. Like, I don't think nobody marries and thinking that they're marrying the perfect person and they will never change. I
you
think
are married. Hey, Bree. How are you?
You said what now? You are marrying what?
That's not why I want someone to be married to me. I want someone to be married to me because at the time that I married you, you regardless of me being perfect or not, you deemed me to be the perfect mate for you at the time. I don't want you to marry me for what you think you can change me into or what I may transition into 10 years from now. That's not how marriages, that's not how relationships, marriages, that's not how you either. Listen, this is my opinion.
Thank you. That's
but
the
what
best
I'm telling
thing
you is that's not a best opinion for you because you should. I don't want to have.
I want to hear what you said. So your opinion is.
I'm saying my opinion is I don't deal with. I'm a hiring manager. Okay. That's just like me hiring someone, interviewing with someone, and they did terrible, right? However, I say, well, they're not ready for the job right now, but 3 years from now, they could probably do me some justice. I'm not hiring them from what they can do 3 years from now. I'm hiring them for what they are at the moment. And so fulfilling a desire, fulfilling a role as a husband and our wife, you are marrying that person as to what they are at the moment. Right. Now, there's nothing wrong with praying for growth, praying for potential, praying for whatever. But I don't want any, First of all, your ass ain't Miss Cleo, so you can't see something in me. You can't see. You can't foresee what I will or won't be in situations. Things change, circumstances change. Children are brought in, children are not brought in. Some people grow, some people don't grow. Those are different standards to measure your mate by. So no matter how much you pray to God and what you're asking God for the situation to be for your mate, you marry me for what I am at the moment, not for what you maybe foresee me to be. Because your damn foreseeing could be wrong. Okay. Your foreseeing could be different.
That's your opinion, right? Thank you. What's we got some comments. Let's see. Wow. Lolette says she said something about the warranty. What Lolette said here?
She said, only warranty we have when you get married is God's warranty, and that's to stay under the covenant. No, you don't marry me under no what you think I'm going to be 5 years from now. I don't care.
All right, what Bree say?
She said, hey.
What up, Bree? Where you been? Bree, we're talking about domestic violence today.
We're talking about Brian finna be from under the covenant.
Shanetta has gotten off task.
I have not.
So, Bree, we're talking about domestic violence. And I think J. Phil asked, when does love take aggressiveness away, or does it?
It does not.
And she's saying that it does not. I'm agreeing with that it does not, that, she's still very aggressive.
Especially on somebody telling me they married me for my potential. Are you retarded?
And so that's what we said. Bree saying what a mess. So that's what we're talking about is domestic violence. So I will say this, the National Domestic Violence Hotline number, if you know somebody that are being abused physically, emotionally,
I am,
or
baby,
mentally.
you just emotionally abused me with that statement.
Okay, we'll call this number 866.
I don't understand. Somebody got to make me understand that foolishness.
790-56. No, that's the wrong number. That's 1-800-799-7233. I'll say it again. The National Domestic Violence Hotline number is 800-799-7233. Do you get to tell, do you think you know everything, Shanetta?
No, but here's what I do know. I do know what I want in a mate. I do know what I want in a spouse. I do know what I want in, and as I just said, if I can clearly tell you that I don't
Whoever said that I wasn't happy with who you are.
Hold on. No.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. What I'm telling you is that just as well as I don't want to have anyone to love me as much as someone can love me with being abusive and or having a sense of I can't live without you. I don't want you thinking listen, you cannot foresee what God will be destined for me to be. You just cannot, because understand, as someone just says, when you marry under the covenant of God. And so I am marrying you and standing before you as the person that I am today. I'm not standing before you to what you think I can be 10 years from now, because let me just say this. I think it's a facade. I think it's fake as fuck, and I think it's pretentious, and I think it's a facade when you tell someone that I'm not marrying you for the woman that you are currently, but what I pray that you may be someday. What the hell? That's just like that is out of this world. I think that's a setup. I think it's a cop out. I think it's even ridiculous to even reiterate that you marry someone for their potential. I would never in my whole entire life.
What part of that did you not understand?
I understood the whole damn statement. I'm just saying, I don't want you feeling like that's okay. Yeah. And I don't want you to, and it's bothersome, because y'all about to see a little aggression, because it's bothersome that you would feel like it's okay to verbalize that you didn't marry me for who the hell did you marry? Mary Magdalene? Like, who did you marry? Like Netta Stewart today in 2022?
So here's what I would say. What I chose to say is what I chose to say. And I'm
not
going
to marry you somebody else with some other potential. Because
I get that, but what I'm not going to do is change my mind. Or
you
change
change it.
All right, so that's your opinion. What's our last comment saying here?
Yeah, read it. Since because I don't have the potential to read
Loving
right now.
me right is how I deserve to be loved, LaFrancis is saying. And so I gave you the 1-800 number for domestic violence.
Yeah.
If you guys know anyone who is being physically abused, mentally abused, or emotionally abused,
I am.
We ask you to get them some help. All right. And how you get them help is, even though Shanetta said this number is not very, it's not helpful, they have a national domestic violence number for a reason. So we encourage you to talk about it. We encourage you to report it. We encourage you to try to help this person get out of this bad situation that they're in, right? And I'll give you the number one more time. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 800-799-7233. I'll say it again, 800-799-7233. If you want to hear this podcast, you can hear it on any podcast streaming source, and you search for Love Wins by the Stewart. The video part of it, it lives on YouTube at Brian Stewart Sr. If you want to be a sponsor, all you have to do is inbox myself, inbox Shanetta if you'd like to be a sponsor. If you have questions that you want to talk about it, same avenue. Hit the inbox. All right. I think that's a wrap. That's a wrap. So we will see you.
I ain't laughing.
I am. We will see you next week. Next Tuesday at 7. Next week, I forgot to talk about this. Next week, thank you, Randy, for about turn off. Next week, we will start our ladies' night, and then the week after that, we will start hanging with the homies.
Maybe this is our last episode. Because he done frustrated my nerves, and this is the season ender.
This will be her last episode.
This is the season finale. This is my podcast. This is a season finale, and Love Wins by the Stewarts. This is my podcast, my idea. So Love Wins by the Stewarts. This is our season finale. So I hope you guys enjoy, because baby, this dude got me so messed up. We love y'all. Y'all on my Facebook page. If y'all want to go talk with Brian, go on Brian's Stewart page and talk to him live. Because baby, this podcast is it's ending.
This is the last of Love Wins by the Stewart, which you might hear.
Listen, that's his last name. So if y'all want, if he
on the level with B levels,
if he want to keep up Love Wins by the Stewart, baby, this is his last name. He can have it back. It can be Love Wins by Love Don't Win, because this dude got me messed up.
No.
So it is his Love Stewart, whatever he wants it to be, baby. But this is the season finale, because we ain't doing no more podcasts. I love y'all. Y'all want to keep up with me, catch me on the live or something else, inbox me, email me, come to my job, get along. I don't know, because baby, this dude got me so messed up right now. He think it's a game, and it is not a game, and he know I'm not playing. So we will talk to y'all later. Y'all get on his Facebook and let him go live and let him do the show, audit, edit, whatever.
So this is the last Love Wins by the Stewart.
Get on my page. Bye.
Peace.
Thank y'all.
Peace.
You crazy.